All right, so I'm talking with Mr. Saul Schachter, who recently wrote a book with us, Tender Fire Books, but is also a well-known teacher in the area. Mr. Schachter, thank you for being here. See, I'm still calling you Mr. Schachter.
It's all right. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your teaching experience,
Sure.
where you taught.
Okay. For 33 of my 35 years, I taught at North Shore, starting in the high school and then went to the middle school. I went through North Shore as a student, so it was great to come back to my alma mater. And I taught social studies. First 3 years was ninth grade social studies, and then for the most part was seventh grade for 32 years in the middle school.
Nice. Okay, good. And you teaching social studies and traveling. You're a renowned travel person. And actually, while we're recording this, we're in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, so nobody's traveling.
No.
Tell us a little bit about some of your travels.
Okay, I've been lucky. I've been to 107 countries, and including some crazy ones: North Korea, Iran, Mongolia, Siberia. I went to Cuba in '95 before it was open. There was an ad in the newspaper from a group going from New York City, and they were sympathetic to Castro. I wasn't sympathetic to Castro, but it was a way to get there. And off we went for a week traveling around Cuba.
Wow. What year was that?
That was 95.
Wow.
And North Korea was 10 years ago. There was a group going, and again, I joined it. And we had to fly to Beijing, and we didn't know whether we'd be accepted. We had to send our papers into the North Korean embassy, and they rejected us. We would have to come right home. But they accepted us, and we had a 4-day trip to North Korea. So that was kind of wild too.
Wow, cool. So what makes you choose, well, all those different countries, but was it your goal to travel to so many different countries, or did it just kind of happen that way?
Well, it started when I was in college. I was 20 years old, and I had a African-American professor who was going to Africa for 3 weeks with professors and teachers. And she wanted to know if I wanted to go. I had never been outside the U.S. I had only been to Florida, Virginia. That was it. I was 20 years old. And I said, sure, why not? And 3 days before we were leaving, her father died. And she said, don't worry, I'll catch up. And she never did. So there I was, this, an inexperienced traveler with all these adults. I was only 20, and it was a 3-week tour from the West Coast to the East. And that started it. I had a great time. Didn't eat properly. I lost 20 pounds. I didn't eat properly. I didn't drink enough water. We have before and after pictures of me at Kennedy Airport where I just looked, But from then on, I started traveling, and I've loved it.
Wow. Yeah. And you primarily travel alone and find you enjoy that?
Yes. I have traveled with friends in the past and traveled with groups. But going alone, I find I meet more people. And it's funny, the last few years I've discovered cruises, and my favorite people are the people working on the cruise. I've met a few people on the boat, but you get to know these people who are working on the ships, and they're just fascinating, hardworking, modest, nice people. And some of them have become among my best friends over the years, because some of them were on the next ship that I was on, and I ran into
and they recognize you and everything.
Yeah.
Good.
So
wow.
It's been fun.
So do you primarily go to the tourist areas, or do you find ways around that and go?
Yeah, it's a little both, but I like to get off the beaten track, and I like to walk through markets. I like to go through schools. Any place where the locals are. few years ago, I went to Papua New Guinea, and there's really nothing touristy there. It's it's very primitive, and they were closed for many, many years, and they just reopened basically a few years ago. So I would walk around the towns, again, the churches, the schools. I had all these little kids follow me around wherever I went. I was like the Pied Piper. And I like that type of experience more.
Right. Wow. Cool. So how many countries again?
107 now. 107.
So which one was your favorite of all?
That's a tough one, because I would like to say any country that's different from where I'm from New York here, I find interesting. So, yeah.
Which one have you repeated a few times?
Let's see. I've loved Italy. I've loved Ireland. I've been back a few times to both places. So those two would be near the top of the list, I think.
Right.
They're just terrific.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you go away, how long do you usually spend? And what's a good time frame, would you say?
I usually spend 10 days to 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's enough time to get acclimated to the area, find your way around, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's been that's usually the duration.
All right. Good. And then speaking of travel, the title of your book is?
Why does my social life pick up when I leave the country?
Right, exactly. So why does it, and what does that mean then?
Well, okay, because that was all the chapters in the book are from articles I wrote for the New York Times and the Washington Post and Newsday, and that was an essay in the Washington Post. And it just things sometimes can be quiet at home, and when I go away traveling, sometimes I've become a magnet for others. The locals, and so I've had fun times. And in the last few years, I've some of these, especially some of the women I've met, have found me on Facebook. So we've reconnected after many years. In fact, one of them from Ireland, it's her birthday today. So I even sent her an email birthday notice today.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
So you primarily try to keep in touch with all these people once you meet them, and
yes. And years ago, before Facebook and email, it was harder. Today, it's so much easier. Right there. In fact, today I was all this morning I was emailing with people from Philippines and Tanzania, Bali. Just now, from right before I spoke to you, from Latvia, a friend of mine contacted me that I met. I met her. She was working in Baskin-Robbins in France, in Paris. And she was sweet. We've kept in touch ever since, and she's back in Latvia.
Wow.
Yeah. So
very nice, very nice. So how many different languages do you speak then?
English is it. Even one of the articles I have in the book was about me trying to learn languages, where I studied a different language every summer for 4 summers, and within 5 minutes I was at the bottom of the class.
Huh.
But I did have that one anecdote that the first summer I was studying Polish, and I just couldn't get it at all. And the next year I went to China to study Chinese, and all my Polish came out. So it had lain dormant all this time, and all of a sudden it came out. So that was in the article. That's in one of the chapters.
Nice. So when you go to different countries, you just sort of wing it to get in around?
Well, no, it's what's happened, as I said recently, I've been enjoying cruises, and so every day is a different city, and I do my homework, and I look up sites to see, and follow my own little tour that I create in each city.
Awesome! Wow.
And it's nice to go back on the boat and have my bed waiting for me, and then the next day is another city. So
nice, very nice. So what do you recommend to people who are looking to travel? Hopefully in the future we'll be able to do that.
Yes.
And about how to plan their travels. Do you use a certain website or a different What do you do as far as setting up those plans?
What's happened is I've always just tried to find countries that interested me, and then I would find either the corresponding tour, I would look for a tour, or a cruise now, and go that route. Even traveling by myself when I was younger, I was always trying to be a little more careful. Like I went to Iran in the 90s, the late 90s, and I signed up for a tour. And when I got there, I found out that I was the only one on the tour. I was the tour. So the guy met me. So it was just him and me, and we had a good week or 9 days. But for a place like Iran, I wouldn't go by myself.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going through Scandinavia, that's fine. And now there are websites, and you just type in and you can get information galore. Where we didn't have that when I started out traveling.
Yeah. So were you ever afraid in any of these places? And nothing happened to you or anything now, right? But
well, I did have one experience in Iran. The experience in Iran, when I was leaving, I took a picture in the airport, and I got apprehended for taking a photograph in the airport, which I didn't think was illegal. There was no signs, and they took me to a back room when everybody was boarding the plane. And I'm watching the clock, and they took my passport, and they took my camera, and they finally let me go. And I literally ran to the plane and just made it before we took off. Wow. And that was on a Sunday, and I was teaching, and I had to be back at school on Monday. And so it was we had no diplomatic relations with Iran, so that could have been big trouble.
Yikes! Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, you must have been really scared.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Although when they were interrogating me, I was pretty calm. I don't know how. It's amazing how you react to these things. But I was pretty calm. I'm thinking, what did I do wrong? And then the funny thing was, we flew to London. By the way, in Iran, it was a caviar sign that attracted me. I don't know. I just sort of looked at a place in Iran. And then when we flew to London, and I changed planes there, and I'm waiting in the lounge, and there was the same caviar sign. With a no photography sign underneath, and then I looked over a group of students on a trip to England. And I'm saying, that looks like Ashley, and that looks like Peter, and that looks like Jimmy. They were my former students who were there from school on a trip. So,
wow. Wow!
So we had a nice little reunion. Totally unexpected.
Oh, that's funny. That's great. Cool. Very good. All right. Well, continued success. Hopefully you get to travel again soon.
Thank you.
Continued success on the book. It was great working with you.
Thank you. You did a great job. And
thank you. Thank you.
The book, or okay. So here's
perfect. Yeah.
Here's the book. So it's been a lot of fun, and I've been. Libraries and other organizations speaking about it. So thank you for everything you've done. You bet. Yeah. So far, so good, right? You're doing some signings, you're doing some readings, all that stuff. Yes. So it's been a fun experience, and I hope people will enjoy it. Yeah. So far, so good. It's doing well. It's available on Amazon and through Tender Fire Books website. So that's good. Yes. So, okay. Cool. All right, great. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your time. All right, thank you, Kevin. You bet. My pleasure. All right, you take care. Now that I'm older, I like a little more comforts. So, do you need to get that? Yeah. All right, we can edit it. So. Okay, hold on a second. Yeah. Hello. Mom, I'm being interviewed, Mom. Mom. Yes, Mom. I'm being interviewed on the computer right now. Okay. Yes. Oh, you could talk to Mom. I told her that I cut her off before saying I was being interviewed. So, okay. So she's too much. She's doing okay though? She's fine. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Good. All right, so I can cut that in. So. Okay. All right. Thank you.